and thank you for joining us here tonight on King Jordan Radio. Today's date is March 3rd, 2016. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight on the show we will discuss the rabbi that only got 60 days here in Brooklyn, New York. We'll discuss the Erin Andrews rape trial, which is a civil case right now. We'll talk about the People versus OJ-Simpson. And we're going to talk about Bill Cosby's wife with the deposition. So we are waiting for our guest. Well, I am waiting for her to call in, and so just bear with me. So I'd like to give her her proper introduction as soon as I see her. Okay, I think we have her here now. Ladies and gentlemen, we're joined tonight with a prosecutor. She also wrote a couple books involving sex abuse. She's been in the state's attorney for 20-plus years. She's a legal analyst on Good Morning America. She's been on 48 Hours, HLN, CNN. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Stacey Honowitz. Good evening, Stacey. How are you?
Hi, Jordan. Good evening. I'm sorry. I was on, but for some reason it didn't go through, so I'm sorry if I kept you waiting.
That's no problem. I did want to talk to you first about the Erin Andrews trial that is taking place at the civil case, but she did take the stand, so I do want to play some sound for the audience, and then I want to get your take on the other side.
Erin Andrews breaking down in court.
You know her body? And I saw it for 2 seconds, and I was like, oh, my God. And I shut it down.
Reliving the moment she first saw a naked video of herself online.
Dad, I'm naked all over the internet, and I don't know what it is.
The popular sportscaster and co-host of Dancing with the Stars suing the man who secretly recorded that video, Michael David Barrett, as well as the owners and managers of this Nashville Marriott for $75 million, claiming the hotel made it easy for him to film her in the nude. The hotel maintains Barrett is a criminal who tricked them into gaining access. On Monday, Barrett's testimony was played in court.
I picked up the house phone, and I called the operator and asked him, could I have Erin Andrews' room? They connected me so that I knew what room she was in.
Saying he was having money problems when he came up with a plan. Record video of Andrews naked in her hotel room on his cell phone through a peephole and sell it for money.
Waited till the shower was turned on. I pulled the plug out and waited for the opportunity.
Barrett pleaded guilty to stalking in 2010 and was sentenced to 30 months in prison. His video has been viewed nearly 17 million times.
I feel so ashamed. I'm so embarrassed.
It's a nightmare that doesn't stop.
Andrew's mother, Paula, described consoling her daughter.
It's not your fault. You're a victim. You've been assaulted. There was no calming her down.
Andrews admitting that her life now is far from normal, saying she's filled with anxiety, grief, humiliation, and horror.
I'm so angry. This could have been stopped. The Nashville Marriott could have just called me. It could have stopped this.
Now, Erin Andrews wasn't the only woman Michael Barrett recorded in a hotel room. He posted at least 10 more videos online. Robin?
At least 10 more. Eva, thank you very much. Joining us now, ABC News Chief Legal Analyst Dan Abrams here in the studio with us. And from Atlanta, you see Nancy Grace, host of Nancy Grace on HL.
Okay, Stacey Honowitz, the settlement, of course, this is a civil case, so the evidence is different, and it doesn't have to go beyond the reasonable doubt. But she is saying, her team at least, is saying that the hotel is responsible for this stalker guy. She's been hurt. She wants money. She's suing, going right after the hotels. Do you agree that it's the hotel's fault because of this nut job that was taping her and, eventually it led to the Internet. Was it foreseeable that the hotel could have prevented that, in your opinion?
Well, this is a very interesting case. She's suing for a lot of money, $75 million in damages, and her allegations is that this individual called, asked specifically what room she was in, and then asked for the room next door. And I think that's why you see a lot of celebrities that go under fake names
right.
when they check into hotels. I mean, she went under her real name, and in fact, they gave this person, should they have been on notice that someone asking specifically to have a room next to her without asking maybe if it was a family member or if she was expecting someone. I mean, that's basically what they're saying, that they should have known that some stranger asking to be in a room next door to her, maybe it was for nefarious reasons. And they might have a tough time with that. They will succeed in what she's trying to say is it's emotional distress. And clearly, from what we see and what we hear, she's under extreme distress. She has post-traumatic stress. When she goes into a place, she, hides, she puts something over the people. I mean, the idea that's been viewed 17 million times is devastating. And the idea that she knows it's out there and it's never to be retrieved once it's on the Internet, she's living with this pain and horror of her privacy rights being violated. What the defense was trying to do the other day was, because as for the viewers that aren't familiar with the criminal versus the civil, in the civil you must prove damages.
Right.
And how do you put a price on that damage? And is she suffering so much so that she can't continue on with her job? And what they were trying to bring out the other day while she was on the stand was, yes, we can see that you are emotionally damaged, but has it curtailed your career? When in fact, her career has really been on an upswing since this incident took place. Now, that's not to say that because of this notoriety she got more gigs, but she certainly hasn't been in a position where because of this she's been homebound, she hasn't taken any new jobs. She, in fact, is very visible and very much out there. And so that's what the defense is trying to say. You can be held liable for emotional distress, but the jury might not award you any damages. That's the difference, and that's what they're trying to say. What he did, we could be liable for allowing this person to tape you. But clearly, what is your damage if, in fact, you've got Dancing with the Stars, she got an endorsement for deodorant, she became the face of one of the makeup things. And I'm not saying that any of that takes away from what she's feeling. She feels, she has to work. But that's what the defense would argue in a case like this. So it's very interesting to see. I don't know if there's been a prior negotiation with regard to a settlement, if they made her an offer. But interestingly enough, what came out in the news yesterday or today was that one of the executives from that Marriott was in a restaurant, and the waitress saw him looking at the tape with people at the table and overheard him say, well, if she's going to get millions from me, I want to see what this tape's all about. And so it's become very destructive, I think, for Marriott. I mean, certainly, they are well known and they are all over the world. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what this outcome is, and certainly to determine what someone's privacy rights are and if the hotel will be deemed responsible, because the defense is going to say, we had no idea when this guy checked in that he was going to do anything to her.
And there really isn't a foreseeable future. I mean, that's what the jurors have to determine, and they can't. Can they really go back and say to themselves, the hotel could have prevented this? It's tough, they have deep pockets.
It's very tough. But as you know, Jordan, because you've been covering these cases, the jury can do anything. The defense is going to argue, how is this foreseeable? And they're going to argue, the plaintiff's going to argue, you never give out private information when someone makes a phone call asking where someone's room is. And that's going to be really, I think, the threshold question. So it's going to be extremely interesting to see what the outcome is. She took the stand, and I'm sure she was extremely sympathetic. But that one little area of her being able to successfully go on with her career might be a lynching for some people to say we're not going to award $75 million in damages.
they might not go that high, but maybe a couple of jurors say to themselves, look, all she's been through, the Marriott will live. Let's give her a little something so, she's been through a lot. It's been viewed millions and millions of times. You think they might go in that direction?
And it's never to come off. That's the other issue. You've got 17 million views right now, which is only going to increase, which I'm sure while this trial is going on, it probably has increased because people are curious.
Right. I don't think many people really knew her, except the people that look for this kind of stuff. They probably didn't even hear of Erin Andrews, unless you were looking for, before this got on leaked, that is. So, as you said, it's very interesting, and we'll have to wait and see. These civil cases are very different, and just so my audience knows, it goes by the preponderance of the evidence, right?
Correct.
In a civil case, as opposed to beyond a reasonable doubt in a high-profile criminal case, right?
Correct. And the reason why you have the differences in the standards is because in a criminal case, you're talking about someone's liberty. And so when you're trying to put someone in jail and take away their freedom, the standard has to be extremely high, beyond and to the exclusion of every reasonable doubt that the person committed the crime, because you are taking away their freedom. In a civil case, you're discussing damages. You're talking about money. You're not talking about liberty. And so it's at 51.50%. And the standard is lower because you're dealing in money damages as opposed to someone going to jail. And that's the difference. And that's why people tend not to pay so much attention to the civil cases, because I don't think they believe that it has as much, grit and scandal and salaciousness as a criminal case, when you're trying to send someone to jail. And certainly we've gotten a taste of all those big cases, which probably will segue us into the OJ stuff that you wanted to talk about tonight, if you want to discuss that.
Let's get right into that.
Yeah.
Well, this Tuesday they scored over 8 million viewers. That's higher than NBA basketball. Have you saw the show, A? B?
Yeah.
If you did?
Yeah.
Okay. What is your take of the show? Are they doing a good analyst? I mean, is everybody playing the part good? And what do you think of the accuracy of it?
I really think that they're doing I think they're doing a good job. I mean, certainly none of us know what's going on behind the scenes, and that's what I want to tell your viewers. I happen to know Marcia Clark because I've appeared on shows with her before.
Yes.
And she's a lovely, lovely woman and a very, very bright woman. And the unfortunate thing about it is, because I've been involved in cases that had national attention, and a lot of local cases down here that carry a lot of press. But you never really know what's going on behind the scenes. You only see kind of a fishbowl of what's appearing in court. So much more goes on behind the scenes. I mean, what I'm thinking of in this case, I happen to think the show is very well done. It was based on Jeffrey Toobin, who, was the reporter who spoke to Bob Shapiro very early on and wrote the whole story about exposing the LAPD. And so, Jeffrey's extremely competent, very bright, and I think a lot of it is based on what he wrote. I don't think any of us could look at it and say, oh, that's exactly what happened, because we weren't there. We're seeing how it played out. I think Marcia said on one of the shows that she didn't like the way certain things were being portrayed. I don't think anybody ever likes to see themselves being portrayed a certain way.
I thought Marcia, they got her down